The new Italian government pressures European partners to shoulder more of the burden of immigration from North Africa. The U.S. Embassy rolls out a mobile library for Ugandan schools. And on Friday's Music Makers, Congolese singer, dancer, producer, and composer Koffi Olomide. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. The depth of the European migrant crisis and the plight of the desperate migrants has never been more disheartening than in the video you are about to see. The non-government organization Rescue Charity Lifeline is shown picking up a child and mother from an inflatable rubber boat severely overcrowded with migrants. The mother and child was taken to the nearby charity ship. Early Friday, rescuers on board the German charity vessel Lifeline still had no idea where they needed to go to disembark the hundreds of migrants they have rescued from the choppy waters of the Mediterranean Sea. Italy at first refused to accept the 226 migrants on board the ship, but later said it would take them in but would impound the vessel. European Union countries continue to squabble over which countries' rescued migrants should be taken. Now, to Africa, African leaders meeting in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, on Thursday told South Sudan's President Salva Kiir and opposition leader Riek Machar they need to act urgently to bring peace to their country. The meeting had been billed by regional leaders as a step towards ending a 5-year-old civil war that has killed tens of thousands of people and forced more than 3 million to flee their homes in the world's youngest country. It is the first time since 2016 that regional leaders were able to bring Kiir and Machar together for talks when a peace deal collapsed and fighting re-erupted between their forces. Regional leaders from the Intergovernmental Authority on Development were joined by the African Union chairman and the United Nations Special Envoy for South Sudan and Sudan with an aim to bring peace to the region.
We all have said enough is enough. We all have vowed never again. Now the time for promise is over. We need to act, and time is not on our side.
We urge all parties at this point to stretch for an agreement in the interests of the South Sudan people. However, I should caution that the international community will actively support an agreement only if it is sustainable and implementable. The conflict in South Sudan cannot be allowed to drag on, inflicting further deaths and destruction as agreements break down.
The war broke out in 2013, less than 2 years after oil-rich South Sudan gained independence from Sudan. Now, opposition leader Riek Machar will travel to Khartoum on Sunday to attend another meeting with President Salva Kiir. The World Health Organization says the Democratic Republic of Congo's Ebola outbreak has been largely contained, but says it viewed the situation with cautious optimism. Voice of America reporter John Linden is currently in Kinshasa and spoke with Dr. Michelle Yao, Program Area Manager for Emergency Operations with the WHO Regional Office for Africa. Here's Dr. Yao's assessment.
The situation is improving. In the main city, like in Mbandaka and Bikoro, we almost have no contact to trace right now. We still have a few contacts in Iboko, Zone de Santé, and there the last positive case was notified on 6th of June. So we have start counting the 42 days, that is 2 times the incubation time that is recommended by WHO. So we are moving toward the end. However, we have a strong system with the Ministry of Health to have active case search in rural area, and this required also a huge logistic motorbike moving 100 kilometers away to make sure that contacts are followed, to make sure that also we investigate any alert that is issued from the community, and also to educate the community to be part of the surveillance system, as well as to report back to the health professional any suspected cases. As of 19, the statistic that is available, and I'll double check with the ministry, is that we have 61 cases. Within these 61 cases, we have 38 that has been laboratory confirmed. We have 14 probable, and we have 9 suspected cases. Among them, we have 28 deaths. This brings roughly to 47% of people dying. The objective being to really cut down the number of deaths. And here in DRC, the vaccine has been used on more than 3,000 people. So far, we did not notice any major side effect. Compared to other vaccines. It's the usual side effect that can be observed. So this vaccine actually has been shown as one of the tools to respond to Ebola in the future. For this time, people that were eligible were people that we call at the front line. It's including people in the laboratory manipulating sample, people in treatment center, but also people moving into communities for assessment or for investigation. And also some of the health workers that could be involved in treatment centers. So we need to continue what we are doing in terms of risk communication.
Well, Dr. Yao of the WHO. Now, although the battle is not yet finished, the World Health Organization expects to declare that the crisis is completely over once the 42-day mark without any reported cases has been breached. Staying there, the DRC, according to the World Food Programme, 6.5 million people live in food insecurity in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is largely due to low agricultural productivity and persistent violence in its volatile east. The worst eruption of violence in decades in the region in 2016, with fighting between the army and the Kamwina Nsapu militia, forced an estimated 1.5 million from their homes, living with barely nothing and leaving them without food. For more about food insecurity in the DRC, Claude Jibidar, World Food Programme's country director in the Democratic Republic of Congo, joins me live from the United Nations in New York. Good evening, Mr. Jibidar.
Good morning.
Yeah. Now, here's the question. This situation of food insecurity has been going on for a long time. How would you describe it this year? Has it improved in any way compared to, say, 5 years ago?
The situation overall has worsened, but there are places where a lot has been done, and we have seen quite some positive development. You know, one of the key problems is that the majority of the population in the DRC, the people living in the rural area, they eat because they cultivate. If they don't cultivate, they don't eat. They have access to cash because they are able to sell part of their produce. So if they go to a health center and they can pay $1 for a kid that is sick, it's because they have produced and they have been able to sell part of their produce. Now, when you have those people, those farmers, displaced from the fields, they lose just everything. And the only thing they can rely on is any support that they can have from kinship, from host communities, or from UN agencies, NGOs like the World Food Programme.
Yes.
So the situation of displacement has been persistent since 2016. And that is why the situation of food security has worsened.
So what can be done to change things here? Because you have this humanitarian crisis which is caused by conflict and instability. How do you approach it? How do you help these people?
I think the first priority is obviously that some peace and stability prevails all over. The second top priority is to help those IDPs go back home. Let us also understand that when we talk of insecurity, it does not mean that in a given area, it is totally impossible for people to return. And we've seen it in the Kasai. In the Kasai, more than 1 million people have been assisted by the World Food Programme and jointly with FAO. So what we need to do is repeat exactly what we have done in the Kasai, which is help those people go back home as soon as it is possible. Give them a bit of food, give them some seeds, some vegetable seeds if it is not the planting season, give them staple seeds when it is the planting season, and let them cultivate. And it works. It has worked, and if we repeat it at scale, we can help people address their food security.
Now, yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, DRC is probably one of the most fertile land I know, I have seen. People have at least 2, 3, or even 4 harvests a year. I often say, you cut your tomato, you clean your tomato, you throw the water, you come a month after, you have tomatoes that have grown.
But here's the question and the challenge. Now that the political instability has been the cause for all this, do you see any meaningful efforts to bring that level of peace and security that can make people go back to their homes so that they can cultivate food?
Efforts are being made all over, throughout, so that peace can return. And peace has returned. Look at the Kasai. The Kasai was the most affected region a year ago. I don't say that everything is back to normal, but the large majority of the people of the Kasai are now returning, can return. The same for Tanganyika. Since 2016, there has been ethnic conflict. And you know, sometimes the insecurity, the conflict, is also fueled simply because people fight for survival. So if we can help communities regain some livelihood, sometimes it's the best way of ensuring that those communities get back together.
We want to hope for the best. We thank you very much, Mr. Jebedar, for joining us today. We appreciate your insights.
I thank you.
Well, that's Claude Jebedar, who's the World Food Programme's country director for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, delegates from several African countries gathered last week in Malawi to commemorate the Day of the African Child. The event is celebrated each year on June the 16th to honor children who were shot and killed in 1976 during a street protest against apartheid in South Africa. Lamik Masina has more from Lilongwe.
The event drew participants from across the African continent, including many children. They danced, read poetry, and even held a news conference to declare their rightful place in society.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we are to achieve an Africa fit for children, we the children must put at the center of development. Our views and opinions must be recognized and taken into account. We should be involved in shaping the future we will live.
And they asked governments to institute measures to protect the rights of all children and to empower their future.
Harsh punishment for parents who force their children to get married and for perpetrators of all forms of violence against children. Implementation of programs that empower young girls to say no to early marriages.
The children received enthusiastic support from international children's rights advocates, especially those who wanted a stronger focus on African countries who want to improve education for girls.
In Malawi in particular, the risk of dropping out for school of girls are higher. Around half who end up in child marriages. This is unfortunately one of the highest rates in Africa.
Fortunately, efforts are already underway to change that.
In the light of this, the UN agencies, and in particular UNICEF, is supporting establish a National Girls Trust Fund that I also alluded to earlier. This will coordinate funding for girls' scholarships in the area of secondary education and hopefully up to tertiary education.
The fund, while still in its early stages, will be supported by the Malawian government, UNICEF and various private donors. It is currently supporting more than 3,000 girls in secondary school. But organizers of this year's Day of the African Child ceremony have their sights firmly on the future, calling on all African countries to end all forms of children's rights violations by the year 2040. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Lilongwe.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We are also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. You're watching Africa 54. In a moment, in Uganda, the U.S. Embassy plays its part to help children, school children to be job creators in the future. But first, here's a look at Thursday's headlines.
In South Sudan, a government official announces that they have had enough of rebel leader Riek Machar and he will not rejoin the government after peace talks in Ethiopia. In the DRC, the World Health Organization announces that the country's Ebola outbreak has been largely contained after no new cases have been confirmed in more than 10 days. In Libya, more than 200 migrants are rescued by the Libyan Coast Guard in the Mediterranean while attempting to cross into Europe. In Ivory Coast, the President Alassane Ouattara visits victims of heavy flash flooding. He also calls for the evacuation of all people living in the capital city's flood-prone areas. Finally, in Tanzania, Oxfam researchers complete field trials for a hand-washing station designed to reduce the risk of disease.
Well, with unemployment running high in Uganda, the U.S. Embassy is trying to equip school children with the skills to be job creators in the future. The Embassy recently launched the first ever mobile library project, which is promoting learning in primary schools. Here's Halima Athumani.
Skills in scientific exploration, improved literacy, engineering and mathematical problem solving. These are the skills some hundreds of primary school children in Uganda may gain thanks to the first ever mobile library project called the Nile Explorer, sponsored by the United States. The mobile library is a bus stocked with books, laptops and mechanical engineering projects that travels to Ugandan schools. The project, which started in September 2017, is now offered in 12 government-aided schools in rural areas of Uganda. Deborah Malak, the U.S. ambassador to Uganda, says the $215,000 project will help promote open dialogue and build bridges of understanding.
The Life Skills Hub will help students understand how to manage their finances, understand the role of hygiene and vectors in disease transmission, and equip the participants with skills needed to truly become the future leaders in their communities and in the country.
The Ugandan education curriculum, formed during colonial times, focused mainly on theory, with little emphasis on life skills to help students thrive in the current competitive world. Susan Okecho, Assistant Commissioner of Education Standards in the Ministry of Education, criticized what she called the cram, pass, forget approach that most students and teachers use.
These are key areas that, as somebody from the standards body, we've been looking for, because this should not be taken as subjects but methodology, something that should guide the process of teaching and learning.
Several studies in Uganda have shown that primary teachers fail to teach basic literacy lessons due to their lack of comprehension. Barbara Birungi Mutabazi, Executive Director of Hive Collab, A local tech innovation hub that is implementing the Nile Explorer project says their training will also include teachers.
The teachers are being taught on how to do or teach kids this kind of way, but also we are teaching the students with the teachers present so that they can see how this kind of teaching is done. So it's practical teaching for them as teachers.
Since 2012, the U.S. government has provided the Ugandan government nearly $100 million to support early grade reading in public schools. Ambassador Malak says the mobile library project is funded through the end of 2019. Halima Athmani for VOA News, Mukono, Uganda.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. The streets of Paris are set to feature a new shared electric scooter system that has swept across America and is now heading for Europe. California-based Lime already operates bike-sharing schemes in Berlin and Frankfurt and has big ambitions in Europe. The new e-scooters arrive as Paris faces problems with two of its flagship transport innovations over the last decade, which has forged the city's reputation as a pioneer for new forms of commuting. The city's bike-sharing plan is in disarray, while an electric car sharing system could be at the end of the road after it ran up major losses. Well, next up, scientists at Germany's Aerospace Center praised the advantages of an artificial intelligence robot, which will soon join astronauts aboard the International Space Station. The robot, called Simon, short for Crew Interactive Mobile Companion, was developed by aerospace design company Airbus in collaboration with IBM and will assist German astronaut Alexander Gerst and his two colleagues, a Russian cosmonaut and a U.S. astronaut. The robot can hear, speak, understand, and support the astronaut in his daily work. The size of a basketball and weighing around 5 kilograms, NASA will launch Simon on June the 29th. Well, and finally, Australian medical professionals are being encouraged to sign up to a new smartphone app that has been designed to save lives. The Good Samaritan app, known as Good Sam, sends an alert to registered off-duty first responders like paramedics, nurses, doctors, and staff lifesavers to notify them that someone nearby needs emergency care. Responders will get the call if they are within 400 meters of the patient in Melbourne and up to 5 kilometers in the country areas. Around 100,000 trained professionals are expected to join the Good Sam app, and that's what's trending today. Well, it's Music Makers Friday, and today we bring you one of Democratic Republic of Congo's music giants, Koffi Olomide. He's a soca singer, dancer, producer, and composer. He's the founder of the Quartier Latin International Orchestra. Tell us more about Koffi and his music. I'm joined by RM show host Roger Muntu.
It's been a long time, man.
Man, it's been a while.
And you abandoned me.
You came in with a big bang. No, I did not. Look, I was waiting for you to come up with something big. And we have it now, right?
This is big, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
This is big.
This is big.
Yeah, man, Koffi Olomide is still, he still got his game.
He's still got his game. Let's don't forget that this man is pretty much call himself the father of people like Fali, Pupa, and all those other big artists, Ferregola, all those other big artists.
Yeah.
So he, like you said, he's still on the game. He's still in the game, is still trying his, his game hard. He just released this new song we're about to watch, Ba Esclave.
Yeah.
Ba Esclave means the slaves.
Yeah.
And in that song, he's pretty much quoting. He's saying that people like to use his name to talk bad about him, to talk, really to say bad things about him, to accuse him of things that he never, or things that he never committed. And I'm sure he's referring to so many other things that we know Koffi Olomide was accused on.
Yeah.
Right.
There are a few others, including treating some of his dancers badly.
In Kenya,
I know that.
right?
In Kenya,
right.
He was kicked out of the country.
Exactly. He was even arrested when he went back to Kinshasa.
Yeah. So,
and then, of course, he has also other trial waiting for him in Paris.
Yeah.
So all of that made him. The song is really deep, and we're gonna watch it. It's a rumba, but the message is deep in there.
Yeah. I think it's only right that we watch the song now.
Exactly.
We can talk a little bit.
That's right.
Okay. By Esclave.
Yeah.
By Koffi Olomide.
La légende, le quadra. Merci Seigneur. Opao, encore et toujours. Yezu atikela biso nkombo na ye po tosalela. Na ntango toza na besoin ya mapamboli, na ntango toza na besoin makambo na biso ekende liboso. Me ndenge nini na kati ya mboka nkombo ya Koffi ekoma kotangama koleka nkombo ya Yezu? Bien te? Koffi aza neka Koffi, aza na posa ya baesclave te, bato oyo bakoki kovivre te soki baa na nkombo na ye te na monoko. Ah, vraiment. Nakoka nanga mpe na nyonso te, me nini ko?
I mean, a beautiful video.
Beautiful video.
And this, it sounds the same as it sounded, 20 years ago?
Let's don't forget, Vance, that this man is 61.
61.
Still looks good.
Yeah.
Still got it. Still in the game, as we said.
It's amazing.
Now,
so, I mean, in terms of really some of the things he's been accused of, is it baseless? Hasn't he done a few bad things?
Well, you know, things still like on courts, and there's still they have him. He actually going to appear in court in Paris in January to go respond to some of those accusations. But you know, things we don't know what is based. We saw what happened in Kenya. You said this earlier. You know.
But you know what? We want to listen to more of his music.
Well,
so
exactly.
Why don't we just kind of end it here?
And I know you love this.
Yeah,
I know you love this rumba.
Yeah,
let's not forget, Koffi's one of the greatest artists.
He's the greatest artist I know. One of them. So I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us. And so to learn more about Roger Muntu and his VOA radio show, visit Facebook and type in the keywords RM Show VOA, and you can see what time his program can be heard in your area and get more information about some of his featured artists. Well, now, I want to leave you with more of Koffi Olomide's By Esclave. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.
Alpha Conde, Amanda Bakayoko, Jojo Weya, Wapijwa Lorenzo, Kaya Koffi, Ome Mangona Onu, Epaya Guterres, Aye Biza Bango Batika Mopa Okimia, Moemokeye, Sasungeso, Wapi Fornia Singbeye, Alassane Ouattara, Benga Paul Kagame, Kaya Koffi, Bome Mango na conseil de sécurité, pas état membre batia ba veto contre ba jaloux. Ya Koffi Abili Munyampara, Fally Ipupa featuring Youssou N'Dour, Vincent Gomez, Luca Adolphe Mouteba, Atana Bercy, pour ça la célébration comme ya grand mot pa oui. Comme ya moto elobama koleka ba problème sérieux ya mboka ezalaka te, que cela se sache une fois pour toutes. Ngana koka na ngana nyonso te, nanga kaka moto kaka. Merci. Alpha Conde nanga nefa makisal, Hugo Golondele Inawele Ngoya, Valeria Koffi.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This expression sounds like a violent way of eating, but it's actually not always about eating.
Here is your Russian book, Anna. Thanks for letting me borrow it.
Oh, are you done with level 1 already?
Yeah, I finished last week, and I've already finished level 2.
Wow, you are really sinking your teeth into learning Russian.
Well,